Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, Sacred Visibility Catalyst, Intentional Living Guide, and publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine. Since 2006, Aspire has been inspiring women to live deeper, more authentic, and of course, inspired lives. You can grab your free subscription at subscribe2aspire.com. Ladies, if you're tired of swiping left and you are ready to truly magnetize your soulmate partner into your life, stay tuned. Stay with me because it is possible when you become a vibrational match and energetically draw your partner to you. It all begins by learning to become your own soulmate and by falling in love with your own life. I'm going to tell you, you're in for a magical conversation. Karen McPhail is here with me today, and she has written for Aspire magazine. She has been a speaker in my summit as well as other podcasts. And Karen is a soulmate manifestation coach, infinite possibilities trainer, and certified quantum manifestation coach. And she's the creator of the popular Soulmate Solution program, as well as a best-selling author and an empowering media guest. She not only teaches the law of attraction and soulmate manifesting principles, she used them to call in her own soulmate after many years as a single mother and school teacher. Today, she travels the world with her love. It was her personal journey to attracting love using the Soulmate Solution strategies that fuels her passion for supporting other women to do the same. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Linda. I am so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited too because, I have so many friends that are kind of given up, right? Given up on finding someone that aligns with them on every level, right? Values, energy, life principles. And when we met, I was instantly drawn to your message because, one, I'm a big law of attraction person. I've changed my life using those principles, but it was the core depth of your teaching. And it was all in that phrase at the beginning of the show, the importance of becoming your own soulmate, right? And falling in love with your life. And when I first heard you speaking about that and you were a guest in my summit, I was like, this is powerful, because I think it's something we as women struggle with. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about why, from an energetic position, it is so important and how you discovered that truth.
Right. Well, I mean, just kind of basic 101 of the law of attraction. We attract into our lives what we think about and focus on, and like energy attracts like energy. Well, I'd been doing that for years. I've studied the law of attraction for, almost 30 years, and I was doing that successfully in all areas of my life except the soulmate part. And then now the importance of combining that with the law of resonance, which is the vibrational frequency of those thoughts and the accompanying emotions, create a vibrational frequency. And you have to also be a vibrational frequency match to what you desire. So if you take those two things and you put them together, and you're constantly thinking, this is what happened to me. I couldn't understand it. I was single for a long time. I was a single mom for 11 years. So I was just so frustrated that finally, and I'll tell you the moment that it all shifted for me, but what I was doing was constantly focusing on the fact that I didn't have my soulmate, that no matter who I went out with or dated wasn't my soulmate. And I knew that deep within. So I was really focusing on the lack rather than manifesting in this new way that I developed in the Soulmate Solution that then I applied and was able to then bring in my soulmate.
I love that. So it's like you lived your principles, you embodied them, and now you're teaching them to support other women to do the same. Because it's so funny, because we're going to dive into this. You manifested, magnetized your soulmate. And one of the things on your vision list was traveling the world. And you have been everywhere just in the year or so that I've known you. And so let's go back to that time where you started to identify the characteristics and core values of your soulmate partner. And I know you teach that in your in-depth program too. So let's talk about how you do it, but also why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, trying to attract something into your life, you have to start with a very clear intention. You have to know what you're trying to manifest, number one, right? Because then it's like going to a restaurant and saying, yes, I'd like a sandwich. Okay. Well, there's 10 sandwiches on the menu. Which one is the waitress going to write down, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a silly example, but I mean, you really have to get clear about what you are putting out to the universe as a message. And even to God, I was praying for a man of his design, but I had to first get clarity about who my soulmate even was. So there was a process that I went through, and I came up with 12 of the most important characteristics and values to me personally. What would my soulmate, what would he be acting like? What would he be doing? What were his core values? And my number one was a man of the highest integrity. And my number two was a man who loved to travel with me because that is my passion. So I started by getting real clear, number one, on who I was trying to attract. That was the first part of it.
And that clarity about the highest level of integrity, Karen, that really encompasses a lot. As you said it, that encompasses so many other values.
It does. It checks off so many other things, right? If I've got the man of the highest integrity, I've got a man who, is kind to people, right? Who's probably a family man. All these different characteristics are in the highest integrity in a human, right?
Yeah, and it's so true. And do you believe now that when you started that process of identifying the core values and the characteristics, that was like you were fine tuning what you mentioned earlier about the radio, right? You were fine tuning the channel, like, okay, divine, this is my order. Like you said about the waitress, she doesn't know what sandwich to bring. Well, the divine can't bring you your soulmate if you don't even know who or what that looks like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was at, but I had the list, but then I kept thinking about how I don't have that in my life, how the men that I was dating or didn't have those qualities. So I was in that kind of mindset of really what I was putting out there is what I don't have and the lack behind it, right? So I was manifesting lack into my life, even though I had this list. So that's when I really got disheartened. I really almost gave up and said, I was in my 50s. So I was saying to myself, maybe you're just really being a childish thinking that a soulmate even exists. because I started really doubting the possibility, right? And it wasn't until I don't know if it was a podcast, I really can't recall what it was, but and I at the time didn't really even know who Joe Dispenza was. Somehow that came into my field. Maybe that's what the universe was delivering to me. But I heard someone ask him, "Well, how do you manifest a soulmate?" And he said, well, that's easy. You just become your own soulmate. You become what you're trying to attract because like energy attracts like energy. And even though I knew that, like all the studying that I've done, right, and all the application I'd done, that just, that was it. That was the missing piece. I had to become all those things on my list. If I wanted the man of the highest integrity, I had to be the woman of the highest integrity. And if I wanted a man that had passion for travel, but I hadn't traveled in years, I, I needed to activate that. I needed to fuel my own passion. And so that goes with this principle of I literally became my own soulmate.
That is powerful. And I can feel it in your body and in your energy as you're talking, like your own personal journey. And to me, that makes the best teachers, right? Because you have
Yeah,
such empathy and compassion for the woman who said,
right.
hey, there's no soulmate out there for me, because you lived it, you believed that. And look at you now.
Yeah.
And Kim, we're going to take our first break and we'll be back in a moment. And I want to continue this conversation. We'll be right back, my friends.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients begins showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am with Soulmate Manifestation Coach, Karen McPhail of InfiniteLifePossibilities.com. So right before the break, Karen, you were talking about that moment, that epiphany you had after hearing a podcast about, oh my goodness, I've been so focused on lack and not becoming my own soulmate. And it was like a big aha for you. And so what shifted? You talked about the travel part and about being in integrity, the two things that were on that list that you envisioned for your soulmate. What little changes did you start to make in your life to kind of come into alignment?
Right. Well, I really looked at that list and I set out to ensure that I was in integrity with the list, that I was becoming those things. So, for example, I hadn't worked out, let's just say, in 3 years. And on my list, I had on there I want him to be healthy, and I want him to, work out regularly, and pride himself in his health, because that's what I wanted a partner like that, right? And then so when I went down the list, I had to say, and Karen, when was the last time you worked out? And how are your eating habits? So one of the things I did right away is I joined a gym. I started working out. I started getting healthy and then of course, everything feeds into our vibration, right? I started feeling happier and healthier, and I had more energy, and I felt more attractive. So just by starting to become all these things on my list, I was really starting to like myself and love currently where I was in my life. So already those frequencies started rising with some self-love and some excitement and loving how I was looking and feeling. So that's just one example of one of the things on my list. But the other thing that was the real clincher, as I went into, the year, was I said yes to something I'd wanted to do for 30 years, which was to go to Paris. And I said yes to even going by myself. So it was that real big step of that fueling that passion to travel, I think is, and then and then as the story goes, I met my soulmate in Paris.
I love that story because um, when you were in my summit, Elevate, we talked about that. And the part of the story I love that you had shared, and I want you to share it now, is you initially scheduled that trip to fulfill the part of coming into alignment with what you had on the list for your soulmate. You're like, how can I say love of travel is who I want to call in if I'm not even traveling? And you took this giant step to go to Paris.
Right.
And something you said in the summit, and we can continue that conversation, was I did not go to say, I'm going to meet my soulmate in Paris, because if you had done that, that was this outward expression of energy instead of aligning yourself. Can you talk about that some more? Because I found that fascinating that you didn't go there to meet him, even though you did eventually meet him. What do you think that energetic difference was?
Okay, well, first off, when I went to Paris, I was actually dating someone. I'd been in a relationship for, I think, like a year and a half. This person had a lot of the check marks, but I knew he wasn't my soulmate. And like I say, at that point, I was kind of doubting soulmates really existed. So when I went to Paris, I did not have that intention of meeting someone. It was after I came back from Paris, I broke up with that person because I said, I want my soulmate, that I went into this real valley and made this discovery that if I wanted to bring a soulmate into my life, I had to become that soulmate. So that's when I decided to go to Paris, and it was for like a self-development program. There was going to be a 3-day event, and I was going to that event. So I was going to be around people and felt pretty comfortable. So when I was in Paris, I actually met my soulmate, the man I'm married to now, but I was with someone else. So it wasn't until 8 months after Paris that we actually ended up getting together. So one of the things I say to people is the universe, don't limit yourself to making rules about how you're going to meet somebody, or if I do this, then this is going to happen. Because I could tell you, in my human brain, even if I were single when I had gone there, there's no way in my human brain I would have said, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say yes to Paris, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to feel this passion for travel with myself. And then, while I'm there, I'm going to meet this soulmate. I mean, my human brain would have never went to that place, right? So trying not to attach to the hows of anything that happens is real key in this whole process. So I'm going to stop there and let you ask me my next question, because I kind of went all over the place with that, Linda.
No, I think that was perfect, because what I heard and from our previous conversation is the moment you made this internal decision, this is how I'm hearing your story from an energetic perspective. I see energy is that moment you internally said, I'm going to Paris, I'm going to this event. I love to travel. I really love this 3-day event. I'm going to go. That was like internal shift number one. It's like this frequency went out to the divine. I
Right.
energetically believe that because you had already been starting to do your inner work of aligning with this person, that even though you didn't meet him then in a romantic way, he was energetically being called into your energy field. That's why
Yeah.
he was there.
Right. Right.
Right? Do you feel that too? Like you're
Totally.
oh yeah, I can
Yeah,
see it.
and when I backtrack, I've done like this the data behind this. It was if I backtrack how I ended up actually getting to Paris, it was all these different synchronicities happened. And it was a year and a half from that first moment of the first yes that every single one happened after that. So it was actually a year and a half in the making of God and the universe knowing that we needed to get together and trying to make this happen.
I love it. I could see like the calling in. So we talked about identifying the characteristics and core values of your soulmate partner, and that's a really important exercise that you work with your clients. So then we talked about embodying those values and characteristics to become your own soulmate.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of women, especially when they're identifying the characteristics and core values, do you find a lot of women find that hard? They can't even it's almost like they don't know what kind of sandwich they want. They don't know who they really want to call in. Do you help them identify what aligns for them? Because I know it's an internal alignment. No one can say what their soulmate
Right. It's
is
very
for another
individualized.
person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a whole process. I have a method and a process that I hand walk women to get to this place. And, a lot of times we can discover what we most desire and want by really identifying all the things that we don't want and almost doing the opposite of that, right? So we could maybe the women that you're describing, like I don't even know really what I want. Well, start by saying, okay, what do you know for a fact that you don't want, right? Maybe history and some relationships in the past that you want to make sure that you're not attracting those characteristics and values into your life. So sometimes that can help, just looking at what you don't want and saying, okay, if I don't want this, what would the opposite of that be?
So it's like flipping the script, right?
Right, right. That's just one strategy. But like I say, I have a whole process where we do this big brainstorming, brain dump, and then we can narrow it down, and then we finally come to the list of 12 that I talked about.
And that list of 12 is, as you spoke about near the beginning, is for you, two of your top two were man of integrity and someone that loves travel. So what I love about this is every single woman's list of 12 is going to be different because
Yes.
um, her soulmate is going to be different from my or your soulmate. And I think that is so empowering, help them to identify it because a lot of times, and I know I'm speaking in general terms, but as women, we get into patterns as I did, right? Before Dana and I have been together almost 30 years now, but before that, I can see, I didn't see it when I was living it. I wish I did. But I realized I took a sabbatical from dating anyone for 19 months, that the 19 months prior to me meeting Dana. And it was because Karen, I realized I was the one common denominator in my relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why am I attracting? They had good qualities, don't get me wrong, right?
Right.
But there were things that did not align with me. I see now energetically and spiritually. I might not have used that language back then. So I finally realized, oh, shoot, it's me. I'm calling these people in, even though I didn't use that language back then. So do you find that a lot of the women who come, they're just so disconnected from their value
Oh,
in
yes.
settling for so long that they don't know where to begin to call in this this beauty of a soulmate relationship?
Right, right. Yeah. And so much of the Soulmate Solution program is, yes, we're going to start with identifying, your 12, and then we're going to go to identifying what are your powerful strengths as a woman so that we can start honoring you. th- you know, the bottom line, Linda, is if we do not believe that we are worthy
Yeah.
of this man of 12, right? We can't let him in.
Yeah.
So much of the soulmate solution is working on our self-worth, reframing our belief systems, looking at patterns that haven't served us in the past. It's a real revamping of, you know, self. And I say what we do in that program is we become what I use the phrase of your future soulmate self. And so we it's like developing this. You come as a goddess, but you might not be in that goddess energy. By the time you're done with the program, you're in that goddess energy and you're in that frequency. And you've now embodied everything on that list. And you're feeling in love with yourself at that point and loving your life. So then you're that frequency and vibrational attraction match.
It's such a powerful conversation because about the worthiness, and I love that your program dives deep into that. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. We're going to take another break, ladies. Stay right here. We'll be back in a moment.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Are you ready to magnetize your soulmate partner? It is possible. It begins by learning to become your own soulmate and falling in love with your life. Karen McPhail is a soulmate manifestation coach, infinite possibilities trainer, and certified quantum manifestation coach. Karen is also the creator of the popular Soulmate Solution program, a best-selling co-author, and empowering media guest. Karen not only teaches the law of attraction and soulmate manifesting principles, she used them to call in her own soulmate after many years as a single mother and school teacher. Her personal journey to attracting love using the Soulmate Solution strategies is what fuels her passion for supporting other women to do the same. If you're ready to magnetize your soulmate partner, take the first step now and visit infinitelifepossibilities.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm with Soulmate Manifestation Coach, Karen McPhail. So, Karen, right before the break, you were talking about the self-worth and loving yourself, and that it's really the key to calling in, magnetizing, manifesting our soulmate. And so a seed dropped in. It's really that it's what we said at the beginning. We can't call in someone who loves us in the way that we listed on those 12, on that list of 12, if we're not energetically aligned with our own worth, our own self-love, our own value, and that's why it has to start there, correct?
Right, absolutely. I mean, the principle is we attract what we are, but going beyond that is the belief that you are worthy of receiving what you're saying you desire. If there's that
Mm.
disconnect, you will have resistance and not even allow that person to come in because you don't believe you deserve somebody that wonderful.
That really speaks to me because we all, circle up with our girlfriends and, especially when in our younger years and like, complain, I guess you can say, about our dating situations. We can all use the words, and I've been there too. I want a good guy. I want this. I want that. And we say the words and we believe that's enough. But you talk a lot about congruency, right? Energetic congruency. The words that we say don't matter as much as the story we're telling ourselves in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
And
totally agree.
so a lot of the work you do with women through your programming is about really kind of reconnecting with that essence of who they are so they can rediscover the value that they forgot they had.
Right, right. I mean, we really start with the basics with, I start with like a Myers-Briggs because I want them to see what their strengths are and, their characteristics. I mean, when I when I discovered this about myself, it made such a huge difference in how I felt about myself. And I don't know if you want me to go into that story or not, so I'm not going to go there
Yeah,
unless you.
we have some time, please.
Okay, so when I was a school teacher, I mean, I didn't look like the other school teachers, like the really tidy desk and, I mean, I had lots of parents tell me that I was their child's favorite teacher. I put all my energy into, the lessons and how I was teaching and all of that. But the point that I'm going to make on this is I always felt somewhat inadequate, like because I didn't look like the other teachers. And it wasn't until I took the Myers-Briggs and I started looking at all these characteristics of my personality that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love all these, vivacious, spontaneous, all these characteristics that were innately me that I I hadn't been living and I couldn't live in that container to my full essence. But because I'd been living this other essence for so long, I didn't even know that part of me. I had forgotten that part of me because I hadn't been living it for so long between the divorce and the being a teacher for that many years. So when I started looking at those characteristics, I'm like, I really like myself. I want to be more of her. And I started that was also part of what I started doing is I got out, once I was able to get out of teaching and go into coaching and do what I do now, which is the love of my life and just lights me up to support women in finding their soulmate so they can get to the other side where I'm at, that's what I desire to do. So I use all those what I look at as strengths and all the favorite juicy things about me. That's what I also get to embody now. So that story about we start with self-discovery. We start saying, we need to have you see who you are and honor that. And that also, once you do something like that, then we fit in, it's a natural cadence into boundaries and what you won't tolerate any longer. And that's where we can get into identifying your top 3 red flags, that can also help you in this process.
Oh, I love that because if we have to identify them, because I think for so many of us, Karen, especially in my younger years, it was such a pattern, I couldn't even identify him as a red flag, because to me
Right.
it was normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so from what I heard, if I heard correctly, is it's almost like you're taking women back into their truth, to see their value, to see their strengths, so they can come from a place of alignment instead of a pattern.
Right. And once you start breaking those patterns, and aware, as we know in life, right? Awareness is everything. You're not going to fix something that you're not even aware is an issue. So when you start seeing this, technically this beautiful design of who you are as a goddess and a woman, um, and start honoring that, you start breaking those patterns, because that woman would never accept that behavior from a man, right? You get elevated to a level that you will no longer tolerate those things. But then we also get really, really aware. What do you no longer want to tolerate? And you need to honor yourself in that. So when you're dating someone, let's just say, after you go through this process, when you go on a date with someone, it's not going to be the same, because when you have your 3 red flags, let's say, and you see that pattern show up, you say, no, I'm not going to see this person again. It's getting serious about honoring yourself and having boundaries. And you don't waste time with people that have your top 3 red flags. I don't believe your soulmate is going to have those top 3 red flags. So don't waste your time, and stay available to who is truly coming to you.
Yes. And one of the things I just was energetically hearing too, when we know those top 3 flags and then we go on a date, our pattern is to go, oh, it's nothing. That's just number 2 red flag. But if we stay in the energy of frequency and law of attraction, it, I think it would help us make the decision of, oh my goodness, if I say yes to this and bypass, the red flag number 2, then I'm saying no to my soulmate coming in, because it's 2 incongruent frequencies. And the
Yeah.
divine is going, you want more of the red flags? Okay, here they are.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's exactly what happens.
Oh, I've been there. So I was just listening, going, it's almost like, and I believe sometimes we get tested
Yes.
on our integrity to ourselves. Those promises we make to ourselves that we think don't matter when we break them, those are the deepest wounds,
Right.
right? When we keep breaking promises to ourselves. And so that was powerful, because we have to honor what we say we want if we want to call it in.
Right. Right. And I do think, I mean, I think there will be a test or two. And it's when you make that decision to say, you know what, he's doing red flag number 3. And even though I really like all these other things about him, I don't want to tolerate that in my life. And doesn't mean, it doesn't mean they're bad people. It
Exactly.
doesn't mean they're, oh gosh, this person's awful. It just means that this person is not in alignment with who I am going to allow into my life to spend the rest of my life with. Think about this. This is the rest of your life. Okay. And we all know that whoever we choose as a relationship partner influences our life either very, very positively or also very, very negatively, right? Especially if we really want true partnership. This person you're letting into your life and accepting as your soulmate, it's so important. I mean, I
And
think
it
it's the biggest
everything.
decision of your life. So take it seriously, right?
Yeah, and it affects everything. And I love that you said it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means, again, from energetic frequency, it's not aligned. Now, maybe that same person that has the number 2 red flag because of your list of red flags, is the perfect soulmate for someone else
Right.
who does not have something as a red flag. So I also believe that we release them. It's love when we release them. They're not for me, but they do have someone else, right?
Right.
Um, but the longer we hold, I have a dear friend that stayed in a relationship. It's going back a while, and she wasn't happy. Was he a good person? Yes, a very good person. But it was not the person for her. But because of her own patterns, she stayed well over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see her disappearing
Yep.
because her soul was dying. It wasn't fulfilled. She wasn't living integritiously to herself. And, friends can only do so much. And then, life gave her a cosmic 2x4. And I won't go into her story, but she was forced to end the relationship and rediscover herself. And now she's thriving. Right? And
I
it's
love
been
that.
5 years. She's met someone that aligns, and she now will say, I wasted so many years. I go, it wasn't a waste. It wasn't a waste. There was lessons that you weren't ready to learn.
Right.
And then when you were, the universe supported you. So we're going to take
Yeah.
our final break, Kim. When we come back for the last segment, let's dive into some more juicy stuff, because I know you also do some visualization with your clients as part of your program, and I'm a big fan of visualization. So we'll talk about that and more. Stay tuned, my friends. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Are you feeling called to clear your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual blockages? That's your soul and environment speaking to you and asking you to uncover all the clutter that is preventing you from living the life you envision. Felicia Messina DeHady, soul coaching master practitioner and trainer and teacher of advanced interior alignment and medicine wheel feng shui, supports her international clientele by creating inner and outer transformation in their environments and their lives by combining elements from her extensive training, experience, and intuition. Felicia is a master intuitive coach, certified by Colette Baron Reed, and has served as a master mentor for Denise Lin's Elemental Space Clearing certification course, as well as her Ultimate Clutter Clearing. Explore her offerings, including certification courses in Feng Shui, space clearing, soul coaching, and Reiki at FeliciaDeHady.com.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Thanks for circling up with myself and my guest, Karen McPhail, Soulmate Manifestation Coach, Infinite Possibilities Trainer. You can learn more at infinitelifepossibilities.com. So Karen, I know from our personal conversations that there's a visualization process, so I'm sure there's more than one that you use. But as they identify that ideal person, the list of 12, the red flags, how do you tie visualization in with your clients to help them stay in that energy?
Yeah, that's a big part of the Soulmate Solution. Well, before we get to visualization, one of the first things that we do and really work on is what I call your Soulmate Manifesto. And that is basically you are describing, and I like them to try to keep it to one page because I want them to read it, once a day. as their soulmate manifesto. So basically what you're doing in that, or they're doing in that, is they're describing in present tense like the things that they're doing. Like, I'm sitting at a Paris cafe drinking coffee with my soulmate, or toasting champagne on the veranda of, the Mediterranean, or whatever it is. It's your dreams. It's these juicy things that you want to happen with your soulmate. So you're writing that present tense as if it's already happened. You're dating it a year ahead. So like if I were writing it today, I would say, it's February 1st, 2025, and I am on the veranda overlooking the Mediterranean with my soulmate as I hold hands and look into his eyes, or something like that, right? So we first come up with this manifesto, which is like your dream story, if you will, that you want to truly live. And then what I have them do is chunk that into mini visualization movies. And one of the things that I learned in my training with Mike Dooley is you really only need to visualize 4 minutes a day. And so that's why I like them to take just one of the little chunks. So if it's the visualization of the Mediterranean and that little scene, visualizing that, let's just say on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm going to move to, we're planting a garden together on our little farm, or whatever it is, right? So visualization, first off, the science of the brain is your mind gravitates towards what it's familiar with, right? So that's why we want to we want to see these things in our brain with our visualization. So just by getting in a quiet place, closing your eyes, and playing this dream out, and of course you're in it, you're seeing yourself in it. The most important thing is that you're feeling this as you're seeing it. You're literally, like, your heart is expanding as you're visualizing whatever it is you're visualizing. So yes, we do a lot of visualization and training in the Soulmate Solution, but I also give you the tool that will help you do that. Because some people, I've had clients tell me that I'm not good at visualization. It's too hard. I can't do it. So I start with the baby step of, if anyone's listening that really has said, I've tried visualization and it doesn't happen, start by just seeing yourself in a place that you know that you love. Let's just say the beach. Seeing yourself sitting on the beach, listening to the ocean, but you're seeing yourself the happiest and most elated you've ever even probably experienced in your real life. Just see yourself happy and start feeling that energy of seeing that and watching that. Maybe tears are streaming down your face because there's so much joy that you're feeling as when you're sitting on this beach in this visualization. So a good starting point is just visualizing yourself ecstatically happy.
I love that. And I love that you started with baby steps, because many years ago, I believed that I couldn't visualize either. I think it was Shakti Gawain's book 30 years ago, a creative visualization. I was drawn to it. And then I remember going, but I can't do it. We're always visualizing when we think of it. But the sad part is we're always visualizing worst case scenarios. Do you ever notice that, Karen? It's like, okay, so now when people tell me they can't visualize, I go, you're doing it all the time. And then,
Well, yeah, just like we're manifesting all the time. Whether you want to say you apply the law of attraction or not, everybody's doing it. You might as well use it to your advantage.
exactly. And I tell people that too. I go, they're universal principles, whether you are aware of them or not, whether you believe in them or not. It's just like gravity. They're there.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so when I tell them they know how to visualize because they're doing it all the time, but they're using it for the things they don't want,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, I get it. But how you just described it, I love that you brought the energy of the feeling, like that beach scene.
It's
And
so
then,
important to like couple it with the feeling.
yeah, I love the depth of that because we can all visualize ourselves on the beach, our favorite beach. But it's when you said add the emotions, I could feel it shifting in my body.
Mm.
I think that's a really big key. And I know we have a few more minutes left, and I want to make sure that I mention your URL. It's also on the show notes page on all platforms, but it's infinitelifepossibilities.com. And Karen, I know for the sake of this conversation, someone could be listening way later, but for February of 2024, you have some juicy stuff going on. Do you want to share about that in the last couple of minutes that we have?
Sure. Well, February 15th, I have a free masterclass. And if you go to my website, you can sign up for that. And it's called The 3 Missing Pieces to Why You Haven't Magnetized Your Soulmate. And it's going to be juicy. I'm so excited about it. And then I'm going to be opening up the doors to the Soulmate Solution again. But in between that, I'm going to be doing a smaller program where we're going to be doing a lot of things we talked about today, Linda, which is really getting clarity and identifying who your soulmate is and start talking about how to embody that. And then maybe even put together a vision board on it, something like that. Just a little kind of 2 or 3 week program that's just kind of now coming through. So that will also be available.
And ladies, listen, I invite you to go to infinitelifepossibilities.com. Karen has a free gift. So even if you're listening to this after her masterclass has already come and gone, get in her community. So Karen, you have a free gift. Can you share about that?
Yeah, that is the 5 steps to manifest your soulmate. And it touches on a lot of the stuff we talked about today and helps you take those first steps in starting to love your life and starting to become your own soulmate partner. So that's available. Just jump on and download that e-guide, and that is a great place to start.
And it's also a great way to stay connected with you, your community, the upcoming offerings that you have. So again, ladies, infinitelifepossibilities.com. Get on over there, grab your free e-guide, check out the masterclass if you're listening to this before February 15th. And Karen, as always, I love circling up with you. I love the work you're doing in the world. I do believe that we all have an aligned soulmate. So I'm so glad that you're doing this work to help women call in what they truly deserve and desire.
Thank you, Linda. It was a pleasure talking with you today.
Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.